inside the Beltway, and I am a happy man. I am so relieved. I wrote a new column for Fox News, my regular Thursday column, that begins, I'm just so relieved. I slept 10 hours last night, and I get up very early for this program to do show prep, but I just had run out of gas after the last 2 months, and especially the last 2 days. And after yesterday, some show prep, listening to a bunch of podcasts, I settled down. I just said, that's it, I'm done. I'm going to make a final post on X and then go to sleep. And I did. And this morning got up early. First, the news. Dave McCormick has won that Senate seat, and Bob Casey should concede. It is not honorable for the current senator of Pennsylvania to hold out hope, but there is no hope. I am not optimistic about Captain Brown in Nevada. It's going to be a heartbreaker. He's ahead right now, but that which will be delivered in the mail would suggest to me he can't hold on to that narrow lead. Terry Lake, I just do not know. Too much of the vote is out. I do not know why Arizona is broken. They have a Democratic governor and a Democratic attorney general. Maybe that's why it's broken, like New York and California, but it's broken. I just do not know, but don't give up on Kerry Lake. So we're going to have at least 53 Republican senators, and we're going to probably hold on to the House. 18 undecided seats. Republicans feel pretty good about retaining their majority. Talked to a bunch of people. I am hopeful for Ken Calvert, Juan Ciscomani, Michelle Steele, Scott Baugh. Young Kim's been declared the winner. I just don't know, and so I'm not going to guarantee it, but it feels like they will have a lot to move out on. Now, I have been enjoying myself thinking about President-elect Trump presiding over the semi-quincentennial of the United States. Our 250th birthday is on July 4th, 2026. But it actually gets underway, the preliminaries, in April of this coming year. That's the 250th anniversary of the battles of Lexington and Concord, which are genuinely agreed upon as the beginning of the American Revolution. So one of the things he needs, I hope his first executive order is to stand up the Semi-Quincentennial Commission. He had a 1776 commission. We can gather up those people, but maybe Victor Davis Hanson is its chairman to celebrate the American Republic in its strength and its durability. And I've been amused thinking about the fact that President-elect Trump is going to preside over the Los Angeles Olympiad in 2028. And that my old friends at NBC, which carries the Olympics, and they have the contract, I hope he just goes and settles into the box, the presidential box. Rates whoever's in charge of the world at that time, welcomes them, gives them big hugs, watch our athletes. It's going to be Donald Trump in that box, J.D. Vance next to him. Now, I want to begin by saying a day's reflection and consumption of good media. And by good media, I mean not people that I agree with, but serious, well-educated people who are concerned with facts. That would be the gang at the Commentary podcast, Mary Catherine Ham and Vic Mattis at Getting Hammered. That would be everyone at National Review, and they do a podcast, the editors. It would be Megyn Kelly. It would be Dan Senor at Call Me Back. It would be Dwayne's World. I listen to a group podcast, and I'm really looking forward this morning to Ruthless podcast, because the fellas are pros, and they're going to tell me what worked and why it worked so well and everything about it. I've saved that for this morning's trundle to the program. But I want you to focus for a minute. When tsunamis come in, they destroy a lot. The red tsunami, it wasn't a red wave, it was a red tsunami. Donald Trump won the first popular vote victory since George W. Bush won in 2004. And popular vote doesn't matter. The constitutional majority is in the Electoral College, and he's up to 312, I think. It's a wipeout. And the Republicans took the Senate. I think they're going to hold the House, and I don't know down tickets yet. We don't have enough of the races counted in state houses and all that kind of thing. But I know what I heard in the month leading up to the election, which was a concerted effort by legacy media. And I'm not talking about the hard left over at MSNBC. I don't watch that. I pay attention to legacy media and it's not intentional misleading of the American people. It was negligent. It was negligent, what they did and what they reported, collectively. But there were some truly brazen attempts to brainwash you. Donald Trump did not threaten Liz Cheney with a firing squad. Donald Trump did not say he was going to be a dictator. Donald Trump did not make the tasteless joke about Puerto Rico. Oprah Winfrey, Rachel Maddow, and others who told you it would be the last time you would ever vote unless Kamala Harris won, they got way, way over their skis. I could go on. The whole, he's a fascist, it's the end of the rule of law. It's all silly, and I don't take it seriously. But I've known Michael Beschloss a long time, and when I heard on the commentary podcast, he said, no more history. History will be outlawed. He could not have said that. And then I realized the collective groupthink on the left has grown so extreme. They are trapped in a blue bubble, and they have suffocated. Their reason has suffocated. But some people, pollsters, they've got to stop. They were so wrong. I don't want you to think they almost got it right. They were very, very wrong. And I don't want to name call Ann Seltzer. She had a great reputation that is now, unfortunately, dented. Donald Trump crushed it in Iowa. She had Kamala Harris carrying Iowa by 4, which fueled part of this closing game speculation frenzy. We were gaslit. The whole country was gaslit. And if you listen to one thing, listen to Getting Hammered with Mary Catherine Ham and Vic Mattis. They recorded it yesterday afternoon. I listened to it yesterday afternoon late because I went to sleep at like 7 o'clock, 7:30. Listen to them review the various ways in which we were gaslit. And don't be angry. Just walk away. Do not put up with it anymore. Leave. Do not watch. The trauma experienced by people who've lived in the alternative reality of the left is real, and it leads them to say, even extraordinarily talented, smart people, like John Dickerson was a weekly guest on this show for a long time. He was on Stephen Colbert last night, and he said this, cut number 1. I respect John Dickerson. He is an able and calm man. The restraints on the executive branch placed there by Article 1 and Article 3 have not been loosed. All right? That's just not true. The new president would not want to break them anyway. He is often passionate, Donald Trump. He is often shocking. He can say genuinely surprising, and some people will be outraged. I'm never outraged by anything elected officials say, because I live in a free country, and I'll respond if I don't agree with them. And as that happens, as I have done in the first Trump term, I will do in the second Trump term. Call them on that and say that's not correct. But the cataclysmic rhetoric is so reckless. Oprah, you're along with Rush Limbaugh, the most successful communicator of the 20th century, and still widely understood to be talented beyond belief. Don't tell people it's the last time they're going to vote. John Dickerson, don't tell people the restraints are off. It's not true. The Constitution is very, very, very strong. And the Supreme Court is very, very, very willing to rebuke President Trump, President Biden, President Trump 2.0. The Constitution is very strong. Stand up on this, the opening of our 250th anniversary as a country. Stand up for freedom and for liberty and for the Constitution, and stop with the panic mongering. Welcome back, America. I am here to shake the left hand and give them some help, because they're broken. They are very broken. Legacy media is broken. The left is broken. And I am here actually to provide some help. One of my dearest friends is Bill, Professor Bill Lebdell. Used to teach at UCI. He's retired now from teaching. He was a journalist for many years, the Los Angeles Times columnist for many years. I haven't talked to him in a long time. But when he taught at UCI, he taught journalism. And he would invite me to give one lecture a year, and I would always oblige him. And there was a couple hundred students in a big auditorium, and I would begin with a list of questions. How many of you are pro-choice? Okay, how many of you are pro-life? Would the pro-life people move over here to the right? Would the pro-left people? And I would shuffle the students. How many of you own a gun? How many of you, I'd run down all the litmus test issues. How many of you voted for George W. Bush? How many of you voted for Al Gore? And I would sort the class, and I keep sorting the class until, as I looked at it, the left side of the room were by far the most left-wing students, and the right side of the room was by far the most conservative students. There were very few radicals in the first decade of the second millennium, third millennium. And then I would say, okay, now let's imagine that we produce a newspaper, because it was newspapers in those days and not platforms. Let's suppose that we produce a newspaper that is only staffed by those of you, and I would point to the slice of the room that was on the far left. We produce two newspapers. One newspaper is only going to be written, reported, edited, and published with opinion pieces by, and I'd point to if there are 200 students, the 20 on the farthest left. And then we're going to do same deal. You on the right side of the room, you're going to do a newspaper. And we're going to do the same story assignments every day. Cover this, cover that, cover this. Do you think those newspapers will be alike? And drove home to them that the newsroom makeup drives the news. And I want to quote Dan Rather, I believe it's Dan Rather, as told to me by the late Terry Eastland, my dear friend who died last year. Longtime publisher of the Weekly Standard, longtime publisher of American Spectator, just a wonderful man. Ed Mises, Director of Public Affairs at the Department of Justice in the Reagan administration, in a Bible study with me for years. He used to quote Dan Rather, so that's what my quote comes from. News is where you look. News is where you look. If you produce that newspaper from the left group, the people who are all in agreement about the issue, it will be completely different from the newspaper you produce from the right group. People in agreement on all the issues. That's like the Catholic exponent of my youth, the diocesan newspaper of Youngstown, Warren. And that would be a completely different newspaper, even if they were assigned to cover the same thing. What has happened in legacy media is actually they have sorted themselves into all left-wingers. And I do not know how to fix that. I have given up trying. I tried with NBC. I tried with the Washington Post. I have been willing to appear on any show in legacy media for as long as I've been in this business. I worked for PBS, for goodness sake, for 10 years, co-hosting the nightly news in public affairs show in Los Angeles on KCET with two lefties. And they're dear friends, Pat Morrison, Kermit Maddox, and Ruben Martinez. 2 out of 3 of them would be with me whenever I was on. And so I do not mind the battle. The battle of ideas is good. But effectively now, news is being produced without even one Hugh Hewitt in the room. Or the sprinkling of conservatives is enough to satisfy and solve the conscience of those who are in charge of putting out the product. And it ought not to, because it's a terrible imbalance. It's a 95 to 5, 99 to 1% imbalance. And the 1% is afraid, and the young people don't want to speak up because they don't want to get fired and they don't want to get hassled. So broken legacy media gaslit the country, but the country rose up and said, no, we don't believe you. We reject you. We want Donald Trump back. He's not a dictator. He ought not to have been prosecuted. All of this nonsense ought to stop.